church are beneficiaries of fundraisers, but we also know that politicians are well known for other kinds of fundraisers. They'll go for funeral services and literally, you know, bail people out. But my focus here is what should be the main discussion when politicians right now are talking about forums and have this. What should be the main discussion that we'd be having with the people?
For example, on that occasion, our focus should be on the moral and ethical morass of this country, our moral compass. That is what we should be focusing on, and on the need for moral and ethical rearmament in the country. We should be interrogating the sort of things that Senator Moses Kajwang was talking about a few moments ago. Why have we become a nation of thieves, such that the role model that we are giving the Kenyan child is of a successful thief, such that the Kenyan child must steal the most precious thing that is closest to him or her, and which is the exam, that we have become cheats? And how are we going to use the institutions of faith and religion to redeem ourselves?
Okay. Senator Moses Kajwang, you have the platform, you're a politician, you're one of the ones that we're focusing on right now. What are you doing to ensure that we're not just politicking all through?
Mike, because I was on the scene, and you've seen the chairman of KANU referred to me, and he's also my chairman in the ICT committee in Senate. We said a lot of things. I made a personal testimony to the people of Karachuonyo because he's a man I've known better than many of those people because I've been with him in the Senate for the last 4 years, and he's been my chairman. And I testified that Senator Gideon Moi, for all the time I've known him, he has not been tainted by corruption or integrity like many of us or like many others that we know of. And of course, when you do that, you want to encourage people that it is possible for you to be a politician and not to be associated with graft. We talked about devolution, and I spoke about devolution very passionately. And I say that if you're going into a referendum, then it must be a referendum that, one, addresses the issues around devolution, and number two, addresses the issues around governance, and number three, it must be a devolution about jobs and empowerment for the youth and the women of this republic. And those were three very important elements. Going back to your question around Harambes, by the way, I agree with you. Harambes cannot be a model for development. And when Kenyatta Senior took this country through the route of Harambee, the feeling at that point was that the state had not entrenched itself. The state was not strong enough to provide services across all the sectors. But look at it today. We are getting taxed more by the day. We are getting taxed at the national level. We are getting taxed at the county level. I have problems as a leader, as a senator of a county, who, as everyone knows, we don't have any allocation for development. Ours is representation, oversight, and legislation. But I will be called for hundreds of Harambes every other week or every other month. I have a problem doing a Harambee for health centers. Why? Because already we are pushing that money to the counties. I have a problem doing Harambes for schools. Why? Because the member of National Assembly has got a fund for building of schools. I have a problem doing Harambes for water provision because that money has already gone to the county government, and yet the people still call us for this. I don't have a problem doing a Harambee for a church because I know the church is one institution that does not have any allocation from any other state organs. We as Kenyans must demand that the state must deliver services. Earlier on, when we are talking about education, and during the break, Barack was telling us about Finland, which has a very advanced education system. Right. And we remarked
one of the best in the world.
Yes, they don't even have a private education sector. Why? Because the state provides its obligations to the people. Why is it that in this country, more children are increasingly going to private schools than government schools, or more people are going into private hospitals than government hospitals? It is a failure of government. We cannot fix that failure through Harambes.
All right, Elizabeth, how do we fix this? And of course, Harambes again not becoming a solution, especially for some of those public sectors that Senator has mentioned. Structures, policies.
I think structures and policies, we have them on paper, but we are not implementing them. That's where the problem is. And I would say the problem starts from the National Assembly, because they pass the laws. And if you actually pass a law and say that we will not be doing X, Y, Z, and this is what has to be followed, people will listen. But they're the same people who bend over, and the same laws that are set go against in many times when you see it. So for me, I'm thinking, where does the buck stop? Where do we start and where do we end? It has to all...
It has to start somewhere and stop somewhere.
Yes, but it all has to be put in such a way that people realize that you can't do this and you can only do this. This is the extent of Harambes you can do. I still say we need Harambes. And I will go back and say, not only in the political setting. Amongst us here today, you lose a relative or you lose something. Even if you don't ask for the Harambe, friends will come to your house and they will ask, where's the book? Okay? You cannot tell them no. It is in our culture. I'm sorry. So when they come and contribute money in your house, when you've lost a relative, do you tell them, no, take your money and go? No, you take that money. But that's a Harambe, but at a very low level, okay? So when I say that, the senator said government schools are not working. But again, it boils down to the same thing. The same government is the one that releases the funds. The same funds somebody else puts in their pockets. I mean, so I would look at it and say, go to a private school, all right? Why? Because you feel that there's much better facilities, okay, in that school. The government would be having the same facility in their school, but somebody somewhere has actually taken that money. But because nobody follows it up, that school suffers. Then you look around and you think, I can't send my child to that.
So we cannot, again, and we are getting to the tail end of this, but we cannot, again, just leave it in an amorphous way. There's got to be somewhere where the buck stops. Why do we have leadership if our leaders are making laws